What is the worst thing a roommate of yours has done? Well, not my roommate. My cellmate. I did a stint in the pen. Cellmate was an 18-year-old kid who burned down a tree in his neighborhood and got charged with arson. He smelled worse than most and was probably on the autism spectrum. He proudly revealed to me he fucked his cousin. I was not inclined to ask details. He never left the cell, and I never saw him use the bathroom. He was with me for around 2 weeks. Anyways, the day he got moved I decided to clean the whole place. I left his bed and find a few pairs of underwear and socks all bundled up. I stupidly just picked it up, and out fell a behemoth ball of shit. He must have fought his heart out holding this thing in. I have no idea when the bowel movement occurred, but by the weight, color, and sheer size of the dung, it was long overdue. In college I had this incredibly promiscuous roommate, though she always tried to pretend she was never doing anything. She was super secretive, but we all knew what she was up to. One night our other roommate and I had a bunch of friends over for a house party. We were all drinking and having a good time when she shows up with this guy we had never met. They hang out with us for a bit and then I eventually notice they're gone. Some of her friends were hanging out in her room, so I figure she's in there too, but when I go in, she's not there. I walk out of the room and look at my bedroom to find the door shut. Weird. I go to open it and it's locked. What the fuck? I knock and can hear her whispering, but she won't open the door. My other roommate and I manage to pop the lock and I open the door to find the guy sprawled out naked on my bed and she's giving him a blowjob. I lost my shit. Her explanation? Well, everyone was in her room and she didn't want to kick them out. It was torture the rest of the lease. Ran over another roommate's cat. Cat wasn't dead but had a very broken leg and internal injuries. She put the cat on my roommate's bed despite the fact my roommate was away for 3 days. Didn't tell me anything about it, and she also goes home for the weekend. I eventually, after 18 hours, realized the cat was missing and went looking in her owner's room. Rushed her to the vet and they were able to save her. Leg was amputated. The one who ran her over showed no remorse as it's only a cat. I lived in a house with 4 other girls. One of the girls told a friend of a friend that she ran into at a party that he could spend the night in her room. So without telling any of us, she got this drunk stranger into our house and then left to spend the night at her boyfriend's house, leaving him alone in our house. In the middle of the night, he walked into one of my roommate's room, climbed into her bed and sexually assaulted her. She was able to fight him off and he ran out of the house. When we confronted the roommate who had let him stay the next morning, she said, "Oh, well, I know that he's done stuff like that before, but I didn't think he would do anything to any of you." Double quote. Told me the day before she actually moved out that she was moving out to live with her latest of a string of boyfriends. Didn't help me find someone to take her place. Left me with the bills, which almost resulted in my power being cut. Then called me a year later, bearing in mind we worked in the same office. So it's not like she couldn't have spoken to me to demand her half of the deposit on the apartment 6 months after I'd moved out, and the night before I was leaving the country. After a 5-year friendship where I was the only one with a car and ferried her around as needed without asking for a cent. Told her I used her deposits to pay the bills she stuck me with. Not my favorite person in the world. Old roomie got shit fuck drunk while my girlfriend and I were a town over visiting some friends. We ended up coming home late night, maybe 3 AM, so we could sleep in my bed. I walk up to the door of my apt and it is wide open with blood smeared on the door. My GF starts to freak out and runs back to the car so I can go in solo. So with my tire iron in hand I walk in all stealthy like and am looking around searching. About to pee my pants. After searching the place high and low I find my roommate naked on my bed, so drunk he's barely responsive and urine all over my sheets. He has a cut on his arm that's bled on the floor and my bed as well, and he microwaved my TI-92 calculator for some fucking reason. Never got that new calculator. He always opens up my bedroom door and never closes it even after me telling him multiple times to close it. All the time. Afternoon. Morning. Night. You name it. He's just opening my bedroom door. I'm a pretty open guy. But I like my privacy sometimes, so my roommate can drive me crazy when he comes in sniffing around and just leaves without closing it. Then again, here's a dog. This is 20 years ago but still makes me cringe like a bitch. My best mate had a bad breakup with his girlfriend, so came round to my place at FCK Nozam with a bottle of Jack and some acid. I wake up the next day in a police station being told we've been arrested for performing oral sex on each other in the middle of the city we live in at 4 PM. I'm vanilla straight and shy at this point in my life and just glad I can't remember it to this day. But at least I helped a friend get over his girlfriend, so there's that. My old roommate used to leave the window open in the winter time and I would always yell at him to close it because we had the heat on. He would close it but eventually it would always end up open. It would freeze up the whole house and really pissed me off. After I kicked him out for failing to pay rent, I found out that he was actually smoking Roxy's in the room and had to open his window for the smell. Let's see. One roommate paid the rent and bills. We just gave him the money and he would pay what needed to be paid. One Sunday, while he is at work and my other roommate is at ECU, I get a knock at the door. Our landlady flew all the way from Oregon to NC to find out why the rent hadn't been paid in 3 months. She had no idea that I or my other roommate lived there. Ended up he hadn't paid any bills in the last 2-3 months and had a coke problem. We found evidence after he left. Lots of it. He got kicked out and we got to stay. We never got our money back. Rooming with one of my best friends, ex now, we will call him as Face, since HS. My GF moves in and everything is fine. Another friend moves in and everything is still fine. As Face was an awesome guy up until this point but was socially awkward and was a 25-year-old virgin. My GF and I made it a mission to get him laid. She invited a girl that she was friends with in HS to come over so we could get us Face laid. We told him the plan and to let us only be a one-night stand because she wasn't dating material. He ends up wifi-ing her before he slept with her and she moves in. She has no job and doesn't pay bills. All of a sudden she is trying to run the house and tell everyone what to do. This doesn't sit well with the rest of us. As Face doesn't even notice. The other roommate ends up moving to Vermont. Then one day at work, on my GF's birthday, I get a call from him. Power and water are getting cut off the next day. They are moving out. I ended up finding out he also didn't pay rent the last 3 months we lived there. After months of being a slob and always late with the rent, this girl had an impromptu rolling party in our apartment when she knew I had the flu. I specifically told her I didn't want anyone over because I was really sick, and right as I was slipping into a NyQuil sleep, she showed up with 30 or so loud strangers, rolling on ecstasy. I resolved to stay in the bedroom and just try to sleep through it. But she and 2 guys dragged a kid who seemed to be ODing into our bedroom, dumped him on a chair and went back to their party. I lost my shit. Kicked out everyone, screaming and slamming doors, and she got the worst of it. She said she'd be back in the morning alone. 2 days later, she still hadn't returned and the apartment had been trashed during the party. Seriously, they broke a glass coffee table. Cups of cig butts and candy wrappers and beer bottles everywhere. I decided I wasn't going to clean up after her again and piled as much of the crap on the kitchen table as I could fit. The next morning, I'm awoken by knocking at the door. I assume it's her and I'm getting all geared up to give her shit. It was my landlord, who took one look at the pile of trash on the table and evicted us. I managed to convince him that it was from her and he agreed to let me stay, as long as I kicked her out. Which I did and found extremely gratifying. Lessons I took away. 1. I hulk out if provoked while I have the flu. 2. Don't become roommates with a friend of a friend. Particularly when the only thing you hear about them is that they're chill. Freshman year of college, I got assigned to room with the most sanctimonious, egotistical vegan I've ever met. This cunt was a lazy sack of shit, moved like Jabba the Hutt, and thought his lifestyle was automatically better than everything for everyone. He kept old cups of his algae powder shakes to fester on his desk in the 95-degree heat, No air conditioning, because the mold spores gave the room more positive energy. He left his keys in the door and the door wide open when he left the room because he thought metaphysics would stop anyone from stealing anything. I lost a bunch of prescription meds because of that. Worst thing he did though was try to force me to try his diet. I made the mistake of leaving a milkshake unattended at my desk. While I was gone, the bastard snuck some of his moldy algae drink into my shake and stirred. Before I knew it tasted weird, I had already had a gulp or two. 12 hours later I was in the fucking hospital feeling like my gut was going to explode. That's it. Join the family, like and subscribe for more.